Let's do this.
Rollerblading is so much deeper than just skates and tricks. Like, you have this whole culture that's created around it. Anyone you meet with rollerblades is instantly a friend. Yeah, listen, if you hear this and you haven't bought skates already, I don't know what you're doing.
On point.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of On Point. I'm your host, Taylor Berg, and today's episode is going to be a real fun one. I have a good friend here with me. We have rollerblader influencer and content creator and host of This Week in the Blade, Kevon Thompson.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Hi, Kev. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about all things skateblading, YouTube, Instagram, social media, all that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be really
be a good
fun.
one.
So let's get right into it.
Cool.
What got you into rollerblading?
Man, that's a good question. So it's kind of a cornucopia of a lot of things. Do you remember that show Brink, that movie Brink from Disney Channel?
Yes.
That was the one that like kind of jump-started it.
Okay.
But when I was younger, I ended up landing my first trick on my first try. There was a couple of kids around my neighborhood that everybody was just rollerblading, and they were skating like a little box. One of the older kids taught me how to do what is called a soul grind. And he took the middle wheels out of my like rec skates, and I jumped on the box and landed it. I only slid like 2 or 3 inches.
What age are you?
Ooh, that's a good. Oh wait, I'm 10. Yeah,
Okay.
because I got my first skates when I was 10, and I'm 30 now, so it's been 20 years in the game. But yeah, I was 10. I like locked on, slid like 2 inches, landed, and like my other wheels exploded on the ground because they were just plastic wheels. So since then, I had been hooked because I was like, man, I can do this. So I just kept sticking with it.
So all this from a Disney movie.
Yeah, man. Have you seen it? It's good.
I mean, gosh, 20 years ago. I just didn't know, like, did any of your friends or family?
Yeah, so I kind of came up in the time when all the kids were rollerblading. So
Okay.
most people don't know this, but in the early 90s or mid 90s and like late 90s, rollerblading was probably the biggest thing around. It was bigger than skateboarding, and skateboarders didn't like that, so they came out with all this like anti-rollerblading propaganda. That's why you don't see the sport these days. But back in the day, everybody was rollerblading. And when I landed my first trick and I got hooked into the game, the next week, everyone bought skateboards. So I was the only one in my neighborhood with rollerblades. And I tried skateboarding, and I was trash at it like immediately. So I just kept rollerblading, and then now I'm stuck. When I went to school, I ended up meeting my best friend these days, Gregory Preston. And he introduced me into what the world really was. So I had the neighborhood kids that would skate, bike, skateboard, like flip throughout all of them. And then when I met Greg, I realized that there was this whole subculture that I knew nothing about. So when I met him, he introduced me to all my now friends, like my chosen family. And that's how I like stuck in the game. And so like they introduced me to like what real tricks were, what real videos, like the clothes I should be wearing, the music I should be listening to, like all of that.
So rollerblading community is much more than just the actual skates. It's like clothes.
Yeah.
You were saying that?
Yeah, it's a whole style. Rollerblading is so much deeper than just skates and tricks. Like you have this whole culture that's created around it. So you have like, I don't know, like the different skate videos is the music from that skate video is what we listen to. Like the video game that came out for PS2, all that music is what we listen to. That style is how we dress. Like we always wear skate clothes. Like I'm wearing skate clothes now. Like just that it was always part of it. And then the community behind rollerblading is so awesome. Like the people themselves are awesome. Like the people I grew up skating with, they all have their own kind of companies now, their own magazines. I do my show. Like we're all kind of individuals that came together and create amazing products together.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and get into the community. But before that, you talked about rollerblading and like the outfit, the clothes. Explain to our listeners what exactly is rollerblading clothes.
You know how regular fashion changes throughout time?
Sure.
So rollerblading fashion kind of did that as well. So in the early 90s, it was those big Jinko jeans and like big T-shirts. And they just, from Brink, it's funny, this like line that always sticks out to me is like, go and put some clothes on that doesn't look like someone let the air out of it. That was all the clothes back then. And then towards to the early 2000s, it was still pretty baggy, but it was a little bit more finessed in that sense, more fitting. But it was still like aggressive skate T-shirts, big pants, hats, like very hip hop culture feeling. So that was like early 2000s, like a baggier, like more hip hop style. And then, you know, as people started wearing skinnier jeans, rollerbladers started wearing skinnier jeans. But they're like, you have these people who identify differently. So you have like more punk rock people, more like, I don't know, EDM people, more hip hop, and they all mesh together, but those styles kind of come in.
Okay.
But it's always been like more of a like hip hop, bigger clothes style. And then now everybody's so individual. It's like everything's different.
I personally did not realize how huge this community was until I started watching your shows and until I started following you on Instagram. You have a huge following, which we'll get later into the show. Yeah. But just let's talk about the community. How did this community grow, and why are you guys such a close knit?
Yeah, rollerblading is the best community I've ever been a part of. And I'm in like nerd culture or like other different little subsets.
Harry Potter
culture, man. Oh my God. Anyway, so rollerblading culture is probably the best. So it really starts off that since we were so small in the early 2000s, anyone you meet with rollerblades is instantly a friend. So I remember going to the skate park and like people come up to me and say, "Oh, you have blades on. You want to skate together? Like, take my number. Let's go hang out and do things." And that's kind of how I have my best.
Even at 30, though, this is not like kids.
Yeah. No, this was when I was a kid, but also now. Like, we also always try to like instill that.
Okay.
And then I got really lucky that everyone that I grew up skating with is just, first of all, a lot of them are pro or are big names in the community. And so I kind of had to like step my stuff up so I can match with them. But it's all like super friendly and inclusive because we've been in that point where there was none of us. And I remember going to school and there was one other rollerblader at my school. And now I'm running into like rollerbladers at different skate parks, or like back in the day, if you didn't call me or call us to skate, no one was there. But now I'm going to skate parks and seeing kids getting into it, like women getting into it, and a lot of people just skating, which is like amazing to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just like, it's really big on family and like inclusive and keeping that whole spirit alive of like if you have skates on, your family, your friends.
So you mentioned LA. So is there a huge community out in LA, or is there some in the Bay Area? Mm-hmm. Is it just in California, or is there a community outside of California also?
Yeah, rollerblading is all over the world, global. There's fools in Japan that are insane, that are so good. But my family, like my blade family specifically, is in LA, and I have a lot of friends up here that I'm very close to as well. I actually moved up here for school and ended up staying because the rollerblading community was so thick here. There's a lot of rich history of rollerblading that comes through the Bay Area. And then there's also like, when I was growing up, I think the biggest hubs was like New York, LA, the Bay Area, and Atlanta. For America. But there's also like Denver had a really big community, like the Texas community is really big, like Florida has their own things, but those were like the ones that stood out to me. Mm-hmm. But like it's global. Like there's a lot of people in Europe that are killing it. David Diaco is a guy out of France. He was on America's Got Talent last month. And so it's like
doing what?
Skating.
But like doing cool tricks and stuff?
Yeah, he landed a flat 900. I know that's gibberish to you, but
try to explain it.
It's a 900-degree spin, but
900-degree spin. So you spin 9 times?
So it's like it's 2.5 rotations.
Oh,
but it's also there's also a flip in there that makes the spin sideways. So it's like, I think it's a forward flip with a 900-degree rotation.
And does he start with like a running start?
Yeah, he jumped off a fence into a ramp, and then you need to get speed.
I'm thinking that he's just in skates.
Just on the floor, just straight up.
I'm like, wow, that is more than just America's Got Talent.
You know what? I bet he can do it. He's one of those guys.
Okay. Oh my God. Well, I'm going to have to pull up one of those videos.
He's cool people, man.
So did it take you a long time to get good at it?
Yeah.
Because you said it came kind of natural to you.
So yeah, in the beginning it came natural, but then there's so many different tricks and so many combinations of stuff to figure out like how your style is going to be and how you skate. It took me a long time, and I'm learning every day. I started on my Instagram. I just started relearning some of like the basic tricks again and perfecting those. The cool thing about rollerblading is it's not necessarily the tricks you can do, because some of the best people in rollerblading aren't doing the craziest stunts or craziest like tricks. It's how they do it. And style is really important in blading. So you can do the craziest trick, the hardest trick known to man, but you do it sloppy and no one's going to care. Or like there's an Instagram account that's now posting people who have are grinding curbs, and the style on the trick is so insane that it's like worth sharing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it took me a really long time to get my style, and I'm always working on it every day. And then, the tricks come as they come. And like, it's one of those things that are ever evolving. Like back in the day, When rollerblading started in 1991, on October 21st was the first recorded grind.
In 1991?
Yeah, I was born in 1991. It was a month after I was born.
Wait, that's when it started. Why does that seem not so long ago?
That's when like aggressive rollerblading started. That's like when like
the competition.
Well, no. Well, that's the first recorded grind, like on camera. Rollerblading's been around since like the 1800s.
Oh.
But aggressive rollerblading, like trick rollerblading,
Got it.
really started to take off in 1991. And Chris Edwards is the first person to land a grind. So ever since then, we've been trying to figure everything out. We've been figuring out what tricks work, like what tricks count. Like one of the biggest arguments right now is just like what tricks are real tricks and what tricks aren't tricks, because there's so many new people coming in. We're trying to like set the standard, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we're the OGs.
Yeah, we're OGs, but we also are welcoming you in. But like, yeah, we're always trying to figure out what's the best, like what counts and whatever. There's just like a lot of back and forth on it. But the biggest, like, so since it's still new, like we still have the opportunity to create new things and create new styles and new forms of attacking rollerblading. So it's a really interesting time right now with having more people get into it.
You keep talking about your style of blading. Like everyone has their different style. What is yours?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I have no idea what my style is. I like to say that my style is a lot more hip hop and a lot more fluid.
But like, how do you hip hop skating though?
Yeah, it's just you kind of
just like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Nah, I mean, you can tell by this, like the kind of music I would edit my edits to. And the way that I kind of conduct myself is more in like, it's not like, if you think of punk and punk music, that's more hardcore, more aggressive, whereas hip hop has their aggressive sides, but me, I'm a lot more fluid and a lot more calm. So I would say that I like to relate things to music because it makes a little bit more sense to me. But I would say that my style of skating is like lo-fi hip hop. Style is going to be how you perform the tricks. So the way that I would jump on to a grind and land a trick is different than how you would jump on and land a trick.
And I see that. I actually see that when I watch your videos, like the way you land, like you kind of, you know. So
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I see that little hip hop in you.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Thanks. Yeah.
So you've been doing it for 20 years, and you say that, you know, you started getting good at it at the age of 10. Would you say it's a skill that you're still working on today?
Yeah, every single day. I've never been content with my skating.
So you're constantly working on it.
Constantly trying to evolve it and make sure that it's better. And that's kind of the cool thing that keeps me in the sport, because if you get to the point where you think you've mastered everything, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
You know, and you always want to push yourself to be better. So I always try to attack skating like that, and I don't have to worry about the other things, whereas someone else is going to do, you know, what they're going to do. So me, I'm trying to perfect that instead of trying to be the best out there. Just have fun with my skating and then always push myself to be better.
Okay. I have to bring this up because you are now 30. And I'm not saying you're old, because you're not. 30 is pretty young.
Okay.
30 is young. But do you feel like the difference in your body?
Oh, 100%.
Because I feel like when I was like 17, 18, I was doing things that I can't even dream of now. All right. So like, I mean, the way you're probably landing is like your knees starting to age.
My knees don't like me at this point in my life, which is pretty wild. But yeah, your body's going to change. It's just kind of how every sport is. Like, that's why you see, like, I think basketball, like, I think the cutoff is like 30 or something like that, because I mean, some people play older than that, but like, you just can't put that kind of strain on your body. But what's kind of an inspiration, John Julio, the owner of Them Skates, is 45 and puts out better parts than me ever. So there's a way to do it. And you just kind of, and John Julio was pro in the 90s. So he's been skating since like I even thought about skating. You know what I mean? So it's the way you take care of your body, the food you eat, how you there's a Brian Aragon. I feel like I'm name dropping a lot, but it's fine.
You are.
Brian Aragon used to treat skating like a real sport, like an actual like Olympic sport. So he used to hit the gym in the morning, eat the right foods, practice his tricks over and over again. And so people used to call it robotic, but it was probably the best level of skating ever was. But
can you get paid?
Yeah,
for being
it
a
depends.
rollerblader?
It depends. There's certain sponsors that pay. There's not that much money in rollerblading.
Like, is there sport like competitions where you can go and get paid for that, or no?
There's a lot of competitions. A lot of the bigger competitions are in Europe and in like in Asia.
How can we get you there?
I don't want to. I'm not. I'm so scared, man. Those fools are doing double backflips backwards.
I'll help spot you.
You're a real one, but I can't. But there's a lot of competitions that happen all the time. That's another thing that's kind of crazy about the show is that like I'm introducing people to all these different competitions that happen around the world. There's some people are getting paid for their sponsorships. You have pro boots, you have pro clothing, like you have pro wheels, frames, all those different things that people are making their own little money off of. So there's money to be had. It's just not as much as like if you were a professional skateboarder. Professional skateboarding, because you're getting like, because that sport's so big, you're getting like monster money. You're getting Red Bull money. You're getting,
and you're saying skateboarding?
Yeah, skateboarding's doing that. Rollerblading is not on that level yet.
Do you think it will be?
I hope so, because some rollerbladers are so dope, man.
Yeah.
There's so much cool things coming around. And then you have people on Instagram that have like 200 to 300,000 followers. Like, I feel like that warrants some kind of outward sponsorship that's not just rollerblading. Social media is a very interesting thing to reach a bunch of different people with what you're doing. So many people are on their phones all the time. It's a quick way to like reach folks. Another name drop. Nick Lomax has one of the best Instagrams to me, and he drops like, we call them bangers, like really big tricks on his Instagram that we all think that he needs to save for like a part, like a real part, but the idea of that, he creates a reel with this huge street gap that's going to reach more people than if he were to put all those tricks into one video that just rollerbladers going to see. So it's really interesting because like it helps promote the sport to other people that wouldn't be able to see it. You know what I mean? So Instagram and TikTok, and you jump on those sounds and it just pushes it around. It's such a interesting concept.
I know it's pretty obvious to know the difference of like the inline skates and then the two in the front, two in the back. Are there any other differences besides rollerblading and then roller skating?
Yeah. The type of tricks, well, okay, so the tricks are pretty much the same. They have different names for some of them. The way the boot is constructed is a lot different. So a rollerblading, so an inline skate, yes, you have the inline, but like we also have the way the frame is set up and the way the wheels are set up are going to be different than roller skating. So you have the two in the front. The way you do, we call them groove tricks, anything in the middle of the boot. The block on a roller skate is like this thicker block that goes in between the two trucks, whereas rollerblading, you have a smaller little groove in between the four wheels. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a lot of those differences. A lot of rollerblade boots are hard plastic all the way up to the ankle, whereas roller skates have the like softer boot. They make a lot of more they make more reinforced boots, but they are a lot softer than a inline skate would be. So there's differences, but relatively we're the same because we both have these skates strapped to our feet.
Would you say they're different communities?
Yes and yes.
Yes, but I know that you are in the process of trying to interlock these communities.
Yeah, I feel like roller skating and rollerbladers need to be best friends.
Why aren't they?
I don't particularly know. I've had this conversation with a lot of different roller skaters of just like trying to meld the two communities because I feel like they can learn a lot off of each other. Roller skaters, a lot of the roller skate girls who skate with us out here end up becoming so much better than if they were to skate with skateboarders. And I'm not going to be on this podcast to just talk mess about skateboarding or any other sport. But the fact that roller skaters and rollerbladers sometimes have beef or clash is a little insane to me because we can help each other grow exponentially. Roller skating aggressively is a lot newer than inline skating aggressively. And there's times back in the 80s where they were doing like pool skating like that, but the way that roller skating is now is still a relatively new phenomenon. So having rollerblading that's been through the whole idea of being the most popular thing, going underground and hated on by other communities to now being something that's worthwhile is something that roller skaters could always learn from us and learn how to grow so that they don't have to go through that underground phase that we went through. Does that make any sense?
It does.
And then there's also like tricks and style and movements that we both do. So like a lot of roller skate girls, when they skate with skateboarders, they don't have the same moves that they can't really learn off of each other or pull things from each other. Whereas when I skate with a lot of the roller skate girls, they're doing the tricks that I'm doing, and it's awesome to see. And I'm always trying to promote that inclusion. There's a lot of people, I even have people who watch my show that think roller skating doesn't belong in our community. And, they're just backwards thinking and just lost. But the fact that they're trying and are pushing their sport is something that we should be able to help them out and be on their side with. There's a lot I can say about that, but I think that's like the good steak and potatoes with it.
Totally. And so we're moving in the right direction, you would say?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's another kind of key concept to that. So rollerblading is a male-dominated sport, and roller skating is a female-dominated sport.
So rollerblading, the inline is male.
Yeah.
That
quads
is more female. Why?
Women and women identifying people tend to gravitate towards roller skating. I don't know the exact way, but the community is mostly female, or women. So I feel like they feel like they're more included in that sense. Not to say that there's women that don't rollerblade, because the women that rollerblade are insanely good. It just is a male-dominated sport. So I feel like I feel like women feel that they can't be included in that.
But they can be
100%. And a lot of girls that roller skate around us, especially up here in the Bay Area, have both. They'll switch from their rollerblades to their roller skates.
They're ambidextrous.
Yeah. Because I remember talking to somebody and they were saying that roller skates should just be another tool that you have in your bag. And I agree with that. I can't do it. I look like a deer in the headlights. But
wait, how long have you practiced that?
That's facts. I haven't.
Right. So don't hate on yourself.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But so there's that aspect of a community for them that they feel welcomed in. So I think that's why a lot more women go towards roller skating. I always try to push rollerblading just because that's my sport. That's the love of my life. But I never knock anybody that wants to go towards roller skates. I just feel like having both could always help you out to be better. And there's just something else you can do. Like it's when you get fed up with your roller skates, because it happens. I get fed up with my rollerblades and I just throw them away. Like I don't throw them away, I just throw them in my car and get out of there. But when you start to feel fed up in that sense, you can switch to your roller skates and have a new challenge or something else to work on.
It's normal to get burnt out.
Yeah, I get burnt out all the time. But I just don't think that you should take that and completely disregard the other. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. Okay. But also at the same time, I want to make sure that people feel welcome with whatever sport that they want to bring to the park. And giving people like their own space to shine and supporting them. Like you don't need to act like the women that are at skate parks are like circus acts, making them do tricks and stuff, but just giving them a place to like express themselves on blades or on skates. Hyping them up when they achieve something that they've been working on. And that's another thing about like rollerblading community. It's like no one's a poser. Everyone has their own skill level. I saw when you see a kid who learned his first soul grind, which is relatively an easy grind. You see a kid that learned his first soul grind, you hype him up. You see a guy who's learning how to do 360 soul grind, you hype him up. Like everybody deserves that sort of respect and that sort of hype and love and that support, because that's what's going to keep people sticking in it.
Okay. And is one easier or over the other?
Nope.
No, they're both equally difficult.
Yeah, they're both. It's not that they're equally difficult. They just have their own skill sets.
Okay.
And that's why I always think like you should have both and learn off of both.
Okay. So what can you say to the rollerbladers and roller skaters that are just starting out? Do you have a type of brand that you would recommend them to get their skates to, a type of sock, knee pad? I mean, there's a whole shebang that you guys have to get.
Yeah.
You like my word there?
That's a good word choice. I like that one.
Any brands you can name drop or things like, hey, you're just starting out, you need to get this, you need to get that?
It kind of depends. A lot of younger kids, you know how kids bounce. So they're like, I still think you guys need pads. Like you need helmets. Like, and if you feel comfortable skating with all that stuff, like ride it. I don't ride with pads. I ride with knee pads now just because I'm trying to protect these old knees. But I feel like you could benefit from all that stuff and definitely wear your pads, wear your helmets, wear your stuff and feel comfortable to try new things. But I gotta rep the set really. Like Them Skates is always my favorite brand.
Them Skates.
Them Skates.
THEM
right.
Skates.
It's also like Them Goods Distribution. They also started selling roller skates. Like Moxie roller skates is like a brand that they've been working with. But Them Skates is always my favorite, like starting off boot. And the thing that's crazy about it is that it feels like that's kind of a beginner boot that you can get into, but also pros ride that. USD has a brand called the Sway boot, and that's a good starting off aggressive skate. There's a lot, you kind of have to do your own research, but those are my two first that I like. Prices get kind of crazy.
Oh, really? Yeah. Can you tell us? I would have no idea.
Yeah, like some of the cheaper brands, like the cheapest skates are usually like $150 to $200, but they go up to anywhere around like $500-600. Yeah, the newest brand right now, Icon, their first boot is dropping at $650, but it's also an all carbon boot. There's a lot of like things that go into it that make it like so those are like professional grade boots. You know what I mean? Like I would pay $650 for that kind of boot because I would use that. Whereas somebody's just starting off wouldn't want to spend that kind of money. But yeah, like there's a lot of local shops in the Bay Area. You have Roller Warehouse in California. You have Intuition. That's my favorite skate shop. Them Goods is also another one of my favorite skate shops, but they're in Santa Ana. And
but you can do all this and order all this online.
You can order all of those shops have online stores, but they also have like somewhat brick and mortars.
Okay. Yeah. And you would recommend the knee pads, elbow pads, helmet?
Yeah, especially when you're starting off, get all that stuff and then learn. You can keep skating with them. Like a lot of people skate with helmets now. I started transitioning to more pads. There's a butt pad brand called Shredwear out of Atlanta that is awesome like little butt pad. They sent me a pad and I was like, this is great. I just land on my butt and everything's okay.
You put it inside like undies?
They're like it's like undies, but then it's like over it and then you just put it under your pants.
Okay, so over the undies, but under the jeans.
Right. Or yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good brand to help you with learning stuff. Because when you're learning, it's daunting, you know, like, and you're
one bad fall and you're like, okay, I'm done.
And that's another thing I always try to preach, that rollerblading is more than just tricks. So other than learning how to do a grind successfully, you're learning how to fall and pick yourself back up again. You're learning to be more resilient and learning to focus. Because I can't tell you how many times I've gone over and over and over trying to get a clip, like taking an hour to land this dumb trick. But at the end of it, you're so successful because not only because you landed the trick, but because you fall 100 times and pick yourself up 101. You know what I mean? Yeah. All that to answer the question, there's pads that help with that.
Okay, awesome. And then what would you recommend to a young skater, both inline and quad, just starting out? Maybe some tricks that you can say, maybe work on, or how can they start? The
best way is just to learn how to skate. There's
putting one foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other and skating around. Don't work on tricks for at least a couple months. So yeah, there's a lot of kids in my generation that just went straight to the skate park. They don't even know how to skate. Like they can't like land backwards or like skate backwards. Or they don't know how to be more fluid on their skates. So learn how to skate, learn both of your edges, learn how to stop, learn how your skates work from the toe to the heel, you know what I mean? and then start working on tricks. Because once you learn how to skate and control your skates, you can do anything. You know what I mean? Like, so many people skip that step, and you can tell in their skating that all they know how to do is tricks. They don't know how to get from A to B.
Okay. They need to know the base, and the home base is just skating frontwards, backwards, being comfortable. And then next step would be the tricks.
The tricks. So when you get to tricks, learn all your, I can only really speak for rollerblading because I never really came up roller skating like that. But when you are learning how to do aggressive rollerblading, learn all your soul tricks. So that's going to be soul grind. That's going to be Mizu, acid, star, and mistrial. So learn all those tricks first, and then you want to move into your groove tricks. And then once you start getting those down, every time you go skate, knock those tricks out before you try anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So always just practice those skills, even though you know you perfected it. Just warm up by doing those same ones.
Right now, I'm learning another kind of easy grind. Right now on my Instagram, I'm doing Mizu research, and that's one of the first tricks you should learn. And I'm just trying to perfect it, and I'm realizing that I never really took the time to learn it. You know what I mean? So now I'm trying to like get it cool. Whereas if you would have started with that in the beginning, you would have no issue.
Yeah.
You have a lot of kids, a lot of guys now who can't do certain tricks because they grew up doing other ones. So now it's like, oh, why don't you try this simple trick down this rail? It's like, well, I can't do that simple trick because I never learned it. So if you're in the beginning stages now, learn all of them, take the time to keep doing them. And every time you session, hit a soul, hit a Mizu, hit an acid, hit a star, hit Macchio, forgot about Macchio, hit Macchio, hit all of those.
Hit a grind.
And then work on whatever you're going to try and film.
Okay, awesome. Those are really good advice. How did you become a rollerblading influencer?
I don't know, because I still don't think I'm an influencer.
Well, I mean, you have 10,000 followers. You have a show. You get a lot of likes. You get a lot of people watching your videos. One day you're just like, I'm going to start posting on my social media just videos of me skating. And then how did that lead to your show?
Yeah. Like I said, like everybody that I grew up skating with were like professional skaters, some of the best in the league. And I was filming videos back in the day of just like skate videos. And I was never, I always wanted to be pro. I always wanted to be one of the best. But then it kind of got to a place when I was in college and I was just like, I'm not going to be the best, but I'm going to be the best for me. And I'm going to make sure that I'm happy with my skating. So one thing I always was good with a camera, and I was funny. And so I would.
You're funny?
Thanks.
Just kidding.
That's real. But I started doing skits. I started doing a lot of like rollerblading related skits on my Instagram channel. So the first thing that I ever did that cracked off was rollerbladers. Girls love rollerbladers. Two of my coworkers, I had them like talking about one whose boyfriend was a rollerblader, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's amazing." And then I sent the other girl. It's like the whole skit is me going to the park, filming some clips, and then sending the other girl clips of me skating and her being impressed. And that kind of took off. So I was like, maybe I have a knack for this. And so what I would do is take a lot of these like popular skits or like things in other communities and make rollerblading versions of them. So I did one about a fight that, you know how couples will have a fight about where to go for dinner? I made one of those about where to go to skate. So I would do things like that were like funny. Pretty good, like pretty interesting in the community. And then one day I was like, I want to do something more on a consistent basis. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do like a variety show at one point. I wanted to do like an SNL, but I realized I needed more people to do that. And so I started thinking, I always watched like John Oliver, Trevor Noah, and I was like, man, you could do something like that for rollerblading. Whereas like you introduced all the new everything that's happening, like the new products, the new events, people who had trades, videos, all those type of stuff. So I developed the idea for This Week in Blade in 2018, December. I started thinking of the idea. And then the second week of January, I actually produced the first episode. And it was like 3 minutes. It was okay. I filmed it on my porch, on my phone, and I just thought it was going to be cool.
And sorry, where are you posting this content? Like, where did you post your skits? And then where were you posting this? All on Instagram?
Yeah, everything was on Instagram.
What about YouTube?
So when IGTV came out, that's when I really wanted to do it. So you could do 10-minute videos. I was like, all right, I can do something within that sphere. And if you know anything about social media, you know when Instagram comes out with their new feature, people that use that first get a boost in the algorithm. Like, so people that start using that feature gets a boost. So I decided I was going to make the show for that. And then I was just like, I have a YouTube channel. I might as well post them both on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
So This Week in Blade was the first thing that I posted on both. The skits were just on my Instagram at first, and now they're on YouTube. But at first, I was just doing it for Instagram because that's where most of my followers were. I was at like 1,000 maybe, or like 2,000 of just like following and follow backs, you know?
Well, just friends from high school, college, yeah.
Yeah. And just skaters all around, because I wasn't big, but I had big friends. So people kind of knew me in association to them. You know what I mean? So I just took a leap. And that's kind of something I always preach, is just like, do it. Like, if you want to start something, just do it. So I put the first one out and people liked it. And like, it wasn't as big as the numbers are now, but it was like a good 400 people that watched it, and a lot of comments of people saying like, keep doing this. This is something that we need. And so I did like the next couple episodes, and the community around it just grew. And there's also other bladers who do news shows. So there's Brandon Drummond, who does Blader News. There's Tom Moyes, who does Watch, Listen, Consume. But so mine just kind of took off in a different direction because I had the comedy element in there, and I wrote the scripts in more of a humorous way. Because my whole thing was that like, I wanted to make a good show that was appealing to rollerbladers who still skate, but I also wanted to make something that if you don't skate, you can watch it and still have a laugh. So
I think you definitely do that.
Oh, thanks.
Customers love businesses on Vagaro. Using the online marketplace, they can find and secure the perfect gym, barbershop, or tattoo studio. Clients can purchase memberships online or in person with our contactless payment system. They'll be connected and coming back for more with our automatic text and promotional email marketing. Try Vagaro Pro for free. Your customers will love it.
And so then how did you grow that community? Were you putting hashtags in? Were you like, because you said that you grew from 1,000, 2,000, and now you have 10.1K.
Yeah.
So kind of give us the background on that.
Yeah.
Or help people that are in the skating community, that are in, let's say, the fitness community, and they're looking to grow their social media. What tips and tricks and little hacks that you can teach us?
Yeah, most definitely. The biggest thing about all of social media is consistency. So
what do you mean? Like once a day, once a week?
So at first I was only posting once a week. So I would just post a show every Sunday at 7 p.m. Plug. But so I was doing that, and then people knew what to expect. YouTube works like that because it's more like YouTube wants to be TV so bad. They just want to be. So if you have things like, if you think of your channel as an actual television channel, you have programming that comes out on certain times. So if you think about not old school, but like TV, you have like programs that come out on prime time, 7 p.m., so-and-so day. So that's where I was coming for with This Week in Blade. And then I wanted to make sure that I covered a week of stuff. So every Sunday would be the time where I got everything for the week, and then I was able to put out an episode about that week. So consistency is the first thing, of making sure that you hit your time. And then what I've been doing now is like the hashtags and stuff mattered, but I also kind of like put it in people's hands. Like wherever people were, I wanted to make sure they had a version for them. So I would make a version. At the time, I was making one for Facebook. I was making one for Instagram, YouTube, and then I would take links and put them in different blogs to put them in different groups so that people could see it. And then like on Instagram, I would do the regular hashtags. I do rollerblading. I do skate, all those things that people are looking for. And then you can go through and look at the hashtags on Instagram and see how many things are posted underneath. And people that have the number of posts underneath a hashtag kind of directly correlates with how many people are watching it. Not extremely directly, but it's like if there's that many things underneath this one hashtag, that means that people are creating things for that hashtag.
But wouldn't that make you not want to use that hashtag, since there's so many that yours would just get lost in the mix?
That's right. But you want to make sure that you get whatever demographic that is looking at that as well. So you want to supplement I'm not going to say like this is the surefire way, but for me, I use those big hashtags, and then I also use smaller hashtags that I can get into. Or sometimes, TikTok is really big on using hashtags that have nothing to do with your video. Like the main thing I've been putting a lot is skincare routine under my videos on TikTok, and sometimes they'll blow up. Or like I put body positivity, even though that does correlate because this body is positive. So you wanna be mindful of that thing. So like consistency, the type of hashtags, and then I always try to supplement the big video with something throughout the week. So I'll put like a reel on Wednesdays. Like my Wednesdays are usually reserved for reels, and then you give those two things time to shine. Some people's algorithms kind of work different. So I know like a lot of like the beauty or like the fitness, they want something every day, and they want like motivational quotes and tips, and they want all that stuff throughout the day. Whereas rollerblading, they just kind of want the best stuff when you got it. You know what I mean? I don't, because and reels are so important because the algorithm around reels is pushed to so many different people. So you want to create a reel, you want to use one of those big sounds for the music. So like specifically if we're doing skating or even like working out or things like that, you want to take the clips that are important to you, throw it under a sound that's trending right now, and then watch it go. Like I have other Instagram accounts where I just do testing of like what's going to work, what sound works the best. And like those Instagrams will have 100, maybe 200 followers, but the reel using the right sound will get me like 400, 500 likes because you kind of pay attention to what trends are happening and trying to dive under that, and then stay true to who you are as a brand, as a person, whatever communities you belong to. Like, don't try to just jump on dance trends if you don't dance. You know what I mean? Like, use the sound that they're using to create your own stuff. Like, I'm really big on staying true to who you are and what your demographic wants from you. And just create things that make you happy, but then use those different little tips to like promote your stuff.
Okay. Awesome. And something that just came to my mind is how and where do you find your content to post for the week?
The cool thing about This Week in Blade is if you watch the show and if you're part of like the group chats that I'm a part of, it's exactly the same. We share a lot of the same content that's like cool to us. And so a lot of times like social stuff, I'll just pull that straight from the group chat because we all talk about these things. And the way that I try
And we're talking about group text, like a group text with your friends.
Yeah, with like my rollerblading friends, like my rollerblading family. Like I'll just pull whatever clip that was big with the homies at that week and then look at the time, like when it was posted, and then make sure that it corresponds. I was stressed about that when I first started. I was like, how am I going to find all this stuff? And then
it was easier than you thought.
It just was put in my hand. Okay. You know what I mean? So rollerblading is the first love of my life. Yeah. And it's been the one thing that's consistently been with me and by my side. And whenever I feel like I'm going through it, I can just strap on the blades and get to work. So making the show was just the direct correlation of that, of just sharing this thing that I feel so passionate about with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of your show, you recently dropped a YouTube video about you saying that you're taking a hiatus. Yeah. You're kind of stepping back from the show because of mental health. Could we touch on that? Is everything okay? Do we see the show coming back? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I needed to take a step back because I felt like I was doing too much. I feel like, so kind of taking a step back from that, again, rollerblading is my favorite thing in the world to do. With doing the show every week, I feel like I didn't have enough time to do that. I can feel the level of my skating declining. I can feel like I wasn't doing my best every time I put on my skates. And I feel like I couldn't even push myself because I needed to be healthy or just needed to get to the studio to do the show. And like people relied on the show every week. So I made the conscious decision at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, I realized there was something going on with me, and I wasn't that focused, and I was showing up inauthentically to the show, which is a no-no.
You were just doing it because you knew it was every Sunday you had to get it done.
Right. So I realized I was like neglecting my mental and my physical health, something crazy. And I feel like a lot of time in men, we don't focus on our mental health because it's kind of seen as weak. Men's suicide rates, it's crazy high because we don't focus on our mental health. So I made the conscious effort to be like, I need to take a step back and figure things out. And like I said in the video, if the show wasn't fun, I'm done. And I'm like right at that point.
Yeah.
So I needed to make the adjustment. So, I needed to take a step back and focus on myself and focus on things to make me happy and make me smile. And rollerblading is the first thing that does that. So I made that conscious effort to like put out that video, pause my Patreon so that people aren't getting charged for something that's not happening. And then now I can kind of focus on skating and creating other things. Like I wasn't able to create any kind of skits because I was doing the show. I wasn't able to, there's a lot of other series I want to do where I help promote younger skaters or new skaters to the game and get them in the eyes of different people. So I wanted to do all that stuff. And This Week in Blade was kind of controlling my life in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And people don't realize too, you also have a full-time job.
Video editing.
Yeah. So you're not only have your show and supporting your rollerblading community, but you also work 40 plus hours a week.
Right. And so it was just getting draining. And then, so I work 40 plus hours a week, and then it's 8 or 9 hours to produce the show. And that's just production and post-production. We're not talking
Believe me, I know.
Yeah. And we're not talking about going through the week trying to find all the edits and distribution and writing scripts and all that stuff. So it just seemed like the time right now for me to do it. Twib's not dead, okay? It's going to come back. I just need to refocus on like, what does Twib look like in the future? I can't be working 9-10 hours on a show every single week and then have a full-time job. So I really need to regroup and refocus and see what's going to work the best. But right now, I'm just trying to skate and I'm just trying to be with my friends and have a social life.
Okay. And so just to be clear, you're not taking a break from rollerblading. You're just taking a break from the show.
Just from the show. It's crazy because in quarantine, because we didn't have to go to work, we didn't have to physically go into work. I skated every day, and like people were noticing how much better my skating was. And I only skated with like 3 or 4 different guys, and we just kind of fed off each other's energy. And I was like, man, this is what skating is. It's just fun with the bros, feeding off of each other and building each other up. Like I'll do a trick, Steven will do the same trick with an added trick on it. I'll be like, all right, well now I got to best you. So
and just hanging out with your friends and laughing and not having the pressure of, oh my gosh, I have to film this to edit this on my show. You guys smile, right? Like,
or it's just like I don't have to pause skating with my friends to go produce a show. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea. This Week in Blade is one of the best things that ever happened to me. I've connected with so many different people all over the world through my Instagram or just in person. Like when I went to one of the biggest rollerblading competitions in the world, Winter Clash. So many people were coming up to me, hyped on the show and hyped on what I'm doing for the community.
That had to make you feel so good.
It was incredible. Like these Danish folks were just coming up to me. These Dutch folks were coming up to me, just being like, "Yo, I watch your show every week," and I'm like, "This is it was insane." That feeling is great, and I never want people to think that like I lost something by doing the show. But I think it's just at that time where I need to like really focus on my mental health so I don't spontaneously combust when I'm 40. You know what I mean? Like you have so many people that just neglect it for years and years and then blow up. Like,
and that takes a lot for you to admit that. I feel like a lot of people would just suffer through it because, I mean, they wouldn't want to put their pride aside. So the fact that you not only admitted that, but was like, okay, I need to take a step back, that's huge. And that's like the first step of making yourself priority number one.
Right. And I hope that I inspire folks to, especially men, to take their mental health seriously and realize that like if something's wrong, they need to do something about it and take the responsibility of themselves. So if it's a thing that you have pride and you don't want anybody to help you or you don't want anybody to, hold your hand and sugarcoat things, do it yourself. There's so many different avenues for where you can get help for your mental health. So I hope that people saw that video, hear this podcast and realize that like if there's something wrong, take that steps to make it right.
Well, thank you, Kevon, for sharing and being open with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on, whether it is your show, rollerblading, skating, the community, anything that we haven't touched on, a funny story?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got the most of it. I think the big thing is about how great skating is. It's just fun and one of the big things when growing up is that I was told that rollerblading wasn't fun and it was queer and it wasn't important. I used to get yelled at from the car, like I'll be skating on the street with my friends, just get yelled at from grown-ups. I was like 17, 18, get yelled at from grown men to buy a skateboard, or rollerblading is gay, like all these different things. And a lot of that stuff is starting to happen again. So I think my biggest message is that, like, if you're on blades, you're great, your family, you're doing what you need to do, and enjoy it, like, and love yourself, and surround yourself with people that love you, because we're past all that, like, craziness of people hating on us for no reason, just because we're enjoying our lives. So that's my biggest message.
Amazing. Well, I feel like that's a perfect way to end this podcast. But
what?
Before we go, you already know what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
You're going to play Taylor's Would You Rather, but I made it later edition. Well, I tried.
Good.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
All right.
I'm
All right.
into it.
Well, you already know the whole spiel and the rules. I give you 2 Would You Rather, options, and you have to answer within 3 seconds.
Oh, man, 3 seconds is so much pressure. All right, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Number 1, would you rather rollerblade to Baby Shark or Gummy Bear for a whole 24 hours?
Oh, gummy bear, no question.
Gummy Bear.
That's such a vibe, bro.
Okay. Would you rather have an extra arm or an extra leg?
Extra leg. Can you imagine 3-legged tricks?
Amazing.
They'll be insane.
Would you rather roller skate down the Grand Canyon or up Mount Everest?
Probably up Mount Everest and snowboard down.
Okay. Would you rather have skates that are too big or skates that are too small?
Skates that are too big, because when I grew up, I used to ride a size 12 and I was 9. Like size 9.
So that's nothing for
That's
you.
nothing for me.
Would you rather be hated in the blade community but amazing at blading, or loved by the community but you suck?
I think loved, but I suck. Because at least I can smile.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather never be able to blade again or eat an entire whole chicken raw?
Why is that? Eat a whole chicken raw? Do I still get to skate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Oh
you
no,
eat-
salmonella.
Just for a
I
week.
guess eat a whole chicken raw.
Okay. Would you rather fall in front of everyone at a blading competition or break your leg and be in a cast for a month?
Just fall, because that's already happened.
Okay. Would you rather never do a soul grind ever again or never be able to do a Mizzou ever again?
Mizzou. Soul is the best.
Would you rather have someone get into blading because of you or have someone get into video because of you?
Blading.
Last one. Here we go. Would you rather start your own skate brand or start your own skating school for youngsters and beginners?
That's a hard one. But I think brand, because then I can still teach.
Big homie biz.
Thanks for having me today.
Yes.
I really appreciate
yes.
it.
It was so much fun. I feel like this topic is not really discussed
Yeah.
in podcast or just a lot in general. So I feel like you're really shedding light and opening up the community, and people might listen to this and be like, I'm going to try that out.
Yeah, listen, if you hear this and you haven't bought skates already, I don't know what you're doing.
I am going on Amazon and I am checking out right now.
Let's go.
Okay. Well, I'll see you around.
Hey, thanks for having me.